You're watching the Central Post. This is Samiksha Ajay. Sanskrit is Pakistani now. Sorry, also Pakistani. Vedic culture, Pakistani. The Indus Valley civilization, apparently, that too. At this rate, I'm just waiting for someone to tell me that yoga was invented in Islamabad. But jokes aside, here's what I genuinely don't understand. When exactly did this happen? Because in 1940, Pakistan's founders weren't saying we are the heirs of this civilization and we have a shared history. No, they were saying the exact opposite. Their entire argument was simple. We are two separate nations, different history, different traditions, different beliefs, different civilization identity, and that wasn't just a passing remark. That was the very basis on which Pakistan was demanded as the separate homeland for them. So, what changed? Did 5,000 years of history suddenly update itself? Or did geopolitics update history? Now, here's where the timing gets interesting. Last year, April 2025, the Pahalgam terror attack. India suspends the Indus Water Treaty and makes its position clear. The treaty won't return until Pakistan credibly ends support for cross-border terrorism. Pakistan takes the issue to the United Nations Council. And then suddenly, history reopens. Suddenly, the story becomes, we are the ancient civilization of the Indus. Because if you're arguing for ancient rights over Indus, sounding 80 years old isn't very convincing, right? Sounding 5,000 years old? Now that's much stronger pitch. Coincidence? You decide. Because here's why India's claim to this civilization legacy sounds far more consistent, and I'll tell you why. Not because every archaeological site lies within India's present-day border, it doesn't. But because the civilization thread was never snapped. The Vedas continues to be studied. The Sanskrit continued to be preserved. The Ramayana and Mahabharata continued to be retold. Temples continued to be built. Festivals continued to be celebrated. The philosophical traditions, rituals, and cultural practices carried on across generations. And when India became independent in 1947, it doesn't present itself as a brand new civilization. It presented itself as a continuation of an ancient one. On the other hand, Pakistan chose a different founding idea. Its leader argued that religion, not shared civilization identity, was the basis for a separate nation for them, which makes the obvious question impossible to ignore. If your nation was created by arguing that you were separate from the civilization, when did you become its only rightful heir? Because there's not even need to test the history. Panini, the man who wrote the grammar of Sanskrit, lived more than 2,000 years ago before Pakistan existed. So calling him Pakistani, I don't know which logical sense you're applying right here. Chanakya studied and taught at Takshila. He built the intellectual foundation of the modern empire along with Chandragupta Maurya. Again, 2 millennia before 1947. King Porus stood against Alexander on the banks of Jhelum. His Sanskrit name was Purushottama. He belonged to the very Vedic tradition Pakistan's founders claimed was separate from their national identity. Which brings us to the contradiction. Either the two-nation theory was true, in which case Pakistan consciously defended itself as separate from the civilization identity, or it wasn't true. In which case, history deserves an honest explanation of what exactly partition was for. Geography can place monuments inside your borders. It cannot automatically rewrite lineage.